Welcome to D-Mop Garage. We're back on the 52 ambulance, and you can see we have a cream bumper bar. We've got a siren on there. We're going to annoy some neighbours soon. Not quite there yet, but I'll show you what we've been up to. This is where it's at, and unfortunately it's not good stuff to film for you guys because it's very boring. But there's a lot of people that do ask me about wiring, and they just kind of freak out and go, I'll just go through a couple of things with you. Now, with this barn door, it's got two fuse boxes. So there's one here on the side and one on the other side there. So you've got the pod, and on the back of it, you've got terminals and all kinds of things going on. To make sense of all this is how the best way to do it, I suppose. Get yourself some wiring diagrams and some descriptions of the colour of the wire, the thickness of the wire. And you can see here, what I've got here is the fuse box. And I just go through it and tick off each wire one at a time. So you see I've got the left fuse box, the right fuse box. It tells me where the wires are going to. And what I'll do is just go into the box here, go for the colour of the wires, and it tells you, so you've got a colour diagram here. And you can, the easiest way to do it is just start at the battery, and you can just follow this big red. That's a big red one. It does give you the size of the cable as well. And then you can go to the key over here. That'll tell you the color. It'll tell you the cross section and the thickness of the wire. And then it'll give you the designation where it goes. So it's pretty self-explanatory. Up here, it'll tell you the numbers. So, for instance, you've got the starting motor, which is C. You can come over here and go, well, there's C there. And then all I've started doing is these wires that are under here, which are coming from the rear of the vehicle. Well, I know there's two big thick red ones here. One's a little bit thicker than the other. So I can just pretty much come over here and say, okay, well, you've got two wires here. There's the thicker one. And we know that thick one has to go to the ignition switch, which is going to be that terminal right there. So we know that one there is going to go there. So I know that. I can just move on to the next wire, tick that off, and then just slowly go through each one. Now, a barn door isn't very complicated. You look at that and you think it's crazy, but it's actually quite simple. Headlights, horn, trafficators or semaphores. You've got your spark plugs down here. You've got your coil, interior lights, starter motor, battery. You've got your push button starter. How cool's that? But yeah, you can just, pretty much go through one wire at a time and just tick them off. When you've done them, tick them off, then you know. So this has to get joined into here. Now, all these wires that I've got hanging out, they're already been done. They've come off the fuse box and they're ready to be connected to the pod here. I want to get them all ready, and then I can mount the pod, come in from underneath, and then screw them all in where they need to go. So, that's just a quick overview of how you do your wiring. It's not a very complex wiring. In my orange bus, I actually made the wiring loom myself. I wasn't going to pay $1,000 for a wiring loom when there's like 9 wires. So I just built it from scratch. Went and got the rolls of wire from the electrical shop. You can see this little loom here. This is a secondary tiny loom which was in here, and that one pretty much goes from the fuse boxes to this, and I'll probably reuse it, but you can see they've added some jankiness to it along the way in years of this thing being on the road. Siren, or the light on top, the light's on top, and we've got that relay box that we're going to have to play around with, and that's something that I would imagine we'll be turning off or turning on one of these horns, alternating from that horn to the underneath horn. So I think that's what that's all about, but we'll get to that. It takes a long time. This is day 2 of me doing this. So you've got to make sense of it, and you've just got to follow one wire at a time until you've got them all done. So it isn't a quick process. When I'm not sure where one of these wires goes, and there's quite a few wires here which are going to the rear. Now I know just by these color codes, they're not always the same, the color codes to this, because I think this is a generic barn door wiring diagram I've got off Samba, but being this is a 52 ambulance, the colors could be slightly different. So you can't bank on, these zebra colored black and red, whatever, coming off this chart here. So easiest way to do it is you can put some power to one of these wires, which I can just hook it up to the battery. Then I can come to the rear of the vehicle over here, and I've got my little test lamp here. There's the test lamp, one of these new little ones, and I can just put the terminal on that and it'll tell me what's going on, which wire goes to where. I mean, you've got these two here. Now, I know I would say one of these is a Parker and one of them's probably a brake, but these weren't brake lights. These were only Parkers for driving at night, and the brake light was the one in the middle. So, and then obviously your number plate light. So there's not a lot going on the back of a barn door. Look, it's one of these vehicles, if you were going to drive this on the road and you were going to drive it all the time, I probably would be putting brake lights, LED brake lights in here and indicators in the one unit, because you don't want to be relying on the semaphores. People don't know what these even are, and if they come out, you know, I had a couple of people say, oh, you shouldn't have put a flashing LED in there, it's not original. It's like, yeah, well, you don't want to get T-boned in an intersection just because this is up and it's only got a faint 6-volt globe in there that you're probably not going to see on a bright sunny day. That's one of the things. Do you drive this thing or do you not? It's going to be probably a tricky vehicle to drive here in Australia, being that it's left-hand drive and that it's only got a 25 horsepower motor in it, and it's not going to be going very fast. All right, well, we're going to continue just plodding along on getting this rest of these electrics done. Let's keep going. Well, it's the next day. It's 27 degrees Celsius, so we're getting into summer. It's starting to get warm in here. A couple more things done. I'll put the steering column in, the fuse boxes are in, most of the wiring's done. I've got, you can see that was what was left of the old stuff. The only bits I'm having trouble with is the relay box, which is this guy here, and that has to mount. I'm going to have to make this card here because it actually mounts there like that, but I have no idea what any of these numbers mean or where any of the wires go because they were all ripped out. So if anyone, I know there's relays in here because I've actually had a look, 6-volt relays, but I suspect this is what's going to alternate the horns, but I don't know how to wire it up, so I'm going to get stuck on this. I remade this little bracket here that goes just over there like that. And that's going to take the two switches, the lights and the siren, so, or the horns, I should say. So that bit's done. Unfortunately, we've gone backwards. I adjusted up the brakes, put some brake fluid in, and it's just pissing straight out. So unfortunately, the original container, you can see here, I've got the container here just to try and catch it. But it's dripping between the master cylinder there. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use that reservoir on top. I might have to shelve it and go with another one I've got, which unfortunately isn't the original. It's this one here. So it is brand new. It's just been, I've had it sitting, but you can see here, this thread's on like that. So it is totally different to that other metal one. And the metal one is original. I don't know. I'll get online and see if I can find a seal that goes in between the two, but I've got to have to pull it out and see what the problem is, but it's just, you can see it was just pouring out. So a step back there, unfortunately. I've got the drums all set up here. I've re-put the oil in the reduction boxes, so fingers crossed we don't get another leak. And I did also buy a new torque. This is a monster. Check this sucker out. It wasn't cheap, especially for us here in Australia, but have a look at this. It's like a beast. It is 3/4 inch torque. It's a 4-footer, and it'll go right up to, oh Jesus, 800 Newton meters or 600 foot-pounds. So it's a beast. I've always been guessing with those rear torque nuts to get them up to the 215 or the 250 with a big nut, and you know they say that you got to get it spot on, otherwise it can damage stuff. So I lashed out and bought that. Yeah, it worked really good. So I've got all those torqued up now, so they're done. Yeah, unfortunately we can't bleed the brakes, which I really wanted to get that done. And we are getting very, very close to starting this. I've got a couple of wires here I've got to extend for the Parker and the brake light. And I think most of the other wiring is done, and then we can get back onto
the interior. All right, I'll wait for that thing to drain and we can have a look at it and see what's going on. Righto guys, so it's the next day. I pulled apart the master cylinder and of course I thought I was going crazy. I thought I had put the copper washer in here, and of course I did. And I discovered, if you look really carefully, there's a crack just around there. Unfortunately, you can just see it there in the light. And that's where the fluid was pouring out. So absolute bummer, because you can't get, no one's got stock of these. This is actually a steel one, not aluminium. So yeah, look, it's a bit of a bummer. The lid was a bit knackered up too. It's got a couple of big holes in it. So anyway, what I've done is swapped out, until they come back in stock, I can always swap it over, but I have a plastic one in there now, which you can see, I've got it all mounted back in. She's full of brake fluid. I don't have any leaks so far, but I haven't started pumping yet. Let's see what happens, because as you know, with these lines, you always get some form of leakage that you have to battle. So we're going to start with the rear wheel to get these wheels all bled up. And you can see this is what I've done here. I've just used the stand. I've got a little magnet. That's my little one-man bleeder. I've cracked that bleeder screw open, so we'll just pump some fluid into this now. Once it gets past about halfway on that little container, then it won't suck back in, so we can just keep pumping until we get no bubbles coming out of it. All right, let's go and get this done. Well, brakes are bled and I didn't get one leak, which is, I always get leaks when I'm, you have to adjust up the, nothing, not one leak. Brake pedal is actually really good, pretty stiff. Handbrake's done too. Got 3 clicks and everything locks up. So yeah, stoked, no leaks. I mean, that's the biggest thing normally you get. Always get some kind of a weird issue with wheel cylinders or anything else. The quality these days, you just can't rely on it. That's the scary part. So it's the next day. We're still mucking around with some wiring. I have just on the internet found a couple of wiring diagrams for this box. Now, it's got some weird numbers on it. It's got 71, 71A, 71A, 85C, 71B, B, and 31. Now, I did find I'll just pull it up on the phone here. I found this little chart here, which I don't think it's the right wiring diagram, but it kind of gives me an idea potentially what these terminals are doing. And from what I can gather, I would imagine 31 would be positive, and the horns would be running off 71A and 71B. But we're going to take this lid off quickly and just have a look at these relays inside. And let me undo the lid and I'll bring you back in again. Okay, screws are undone. Okay, let's have a look at this thing. Oh, have a look at the workmanship in this thing. Wow, how cool is that? So let's have a bit of a look. I have no idea what that would have to be. Some sort of an alternating, I don't know, man. It's got 33 and 85 on it. 33 would be obviously positive, which is the red. So no, okay, I think we're wrong. Hang on, let's just put that on. Yeah, so 71 is positive, which is the red, and the red's going around to, and these are obviously relays. 85, 87A, 6, oh, they've got Bosch, 6 volt. Yeah, so there's 2 relays here, but I don't know what that is. That's obviously some sort of a, and that's got 3 wires going to that. Hopefully we don't blow this thing up, because, I mean, how awesome is the bits of twine that they've gone and put all the way around it? How cool is that? Some real pride in their workmanship here. You can really see it. Yeah, look, we'll just have to do a bit more testing on it, but I just thought, I do think that would be negative, positive. I don't know about these other wires here, but yeah, we'll have to work something out. Anyway, do a little bit more testing, and I'll bring you guys back in once we know what the hell's going on. Righto, guys, so some of the aluminium trims turned up, and you can see I've just bent this piece here. It's just a trim to go around the plywood, but that's as per the factory specs. Took me a while to find this profile. It wasn't easy to find. Anyway, we got it. So basically that will be screwed onto here. Now, because it overlaps on the top there, I'm going to have to put the vinyl, stick the vinyl on first, and then screw the trim. So I've got another piece there that gets trimmed in like that. It just gives it a nice neat finish. And then we still have to paint this bottom part here grey. That's the last part of the floor to be done. And then I'm still not sure what, because it's got a little bit of a bow in it here, you can see. It's not quite sitting flush, so I've got to screw it. And they were, I think the original floor was screwed down anyway, because I did find remnants of holes where they've screwed it down. I was going to glue it down, but then I thought, it's probably not a good idea. If you have to get it up for whatever reason, it'll be a real big arch to do. So I think we'll just strategically screw it down with a couple of metal screws, and that should work well. That'll be the last thing, and got to go and get some fuel, get some oil, get it in the engine, finalise the wiring, and then it'll be start time.
2 hours later.
So we've just added a little bit of grey in those sections where you're going to see those bits popping through from the light stuff on top. So just a quick coat over the... They probably did that maybe because you've got grease in the rails on the seat. I don't know. Maybe they didn't want it cream or the other colour. Anyway, what we've done, we've taken the floor out. I've got the floor over here, and that's kind of the orientation, how everything's going to go. Now I need to just roll out the vinyl and just make a rough cut. We're not going to stick the vinyl on until it's actually in the bus. So I just wanted to get this roll out, and I think we can do it all in one go, which is awesome. I thought we were going to have a couple of seam joins in it, but it looks like we're going to be able to do it in one go. So let's get this sucker cut out. I've also got the aluminium pieces bent there, so they're done. Okay guys, so after a little bit of fandangling with this trim, you can see here where it's going to actually live. You got to kind of push it in. I need to put some self-tappers around here, because in the photos that I can see, that's how it all goes together. And yeah, I mean, once it's all connected up, I think it will look professional and exactly how it was. Yeah, that's probably going to be the last part of the floor that we have to deal with. I've got all the holes bored out for the seat mounts, and that part's done. We can then probably in the next video we'll start working on the door cards, getting all those. There's quite a lot I've got to make for the back in there as well, and obviously the doors. Yeah, there's still tons of work to go. So thanks again for the new subscribers, and we'll see you in the next episode. We're getting closer to getting this thing burning down the road, going hee-haw, hee-haw, annoying people. We'll see you in the next video. You.